is VTR and I'm bringing you the news. And today we're going to be discussing a little thing called Scoob, which is an animated film which was scheduled to be released later this year in theaters. It was actually supposed to be, I believe, to be released this month. And technically that is still happening. This movie is still being released, but not theatrically. So after the success of seeing what has happened with other studios doing this, such with DreamWorks when they released Trolls World Tour, they were still able, they made a good bit of money still. And Scoob is now doing the same thing. Warner Brothers was thinking, yes, we still want to release this movie, we still want to put this movie out to the public, so we're going to go ahead and do so. Now, here's what's, this will not be going to theaters at all. I heard a few rumors that when Trolls World Tour was still in a select few theaters, even though most of them were either shut down or were supposed to be shut down. But that's all I really can say when it comes to that. The difference with Scoob, though, is that this was going to be Scooby's return to the big screen. So we haven't seen him on the big screen since the second live-action Scooby-Doo movie, and this will be the first time we get to see a fully animated Scooby-Doo movie on the big screen. And now, with it being released digitally and straight to homes, it's just gonna feel like all of the other Scooby-Doo movies we get every year. So that's the strange part. The fact is, though, they are still confident that they'll be able to make their money back, because a lot of people were looking forward to this film. Now, one thing that surprised me is that, unlike Trolls World Tour, this movie will be not only be available for rent, but is also available for purchase. When Trolls World Tour first released, it was not released to own, just to rent. At least according to my research and what I looked at myself, I could not find anywhere to buy the movie. I could only find it to be rented. So if it's changed at that point, sorry about that. But Scoob is one of those movies that is not, the price is about $20 to rent, which I get why they're doing that, because they need a reason to still be able to make their money back as they would from the box office. But Scoob is also being available for $25. I'm pretty sure that's with the plus tax or something like that. I don't know exactly. But $25 is not bad. Even though, most people, I would say, just buy the movie instead of renting it, since it is such a cheap, it's not that much more to buy it than to rent it. Because that's my intention. I'm planning on buying this film and not renting it. And we all know the whole reason why it's not in theaters is because of the pandemic we are currently in. And it still sucks that we're still going through that, but there's been some developments with that, which I'm not going to discuss here. But the fact that Scoob is still getting a release is exciting, because we'll still get that. We won't have to wait to see it, even though we are still not going to be able to see it in theaters. I do hope it eventually does get a theatrical run, or some way in theaters, like with one of my local movie theater does this summer thing during the summer, where they put movies that have already been in theaters back in theaters for like a day, and you can go see them for like $3. And that's really cool, and I really hope they do that with Scoob. Now, the fact that this has happened was surprising, because we just thought Scoob was going to be delayed, because we did get the announcement a few months ago, or a few weeks ago, that Scoob would be delayed. But then, this happened. Now, what does this mean for other Universal properties, like that are supposed to be coming out, such as the new Wonder Woman movie, 1983? Well, is that the name of the movie? I'm pretty sure it's 1983. is still supposed to get its initial release. It is still supposed to get its original theatrical release, but I'm not sure if it's been delayed or not. It might have been delayed. I'm not sure. But if it has, I will find a way to rectify what I'm saying right now in a tweet or something. But the fact that Scoob is still getting released on its original date is still great. If you want to pick up Scoob when it releases digitally, I'm pretty sure not physical copies are getting released on May 15th. But if you guys want to pick up your copy or rent it, it will be available on May 15th. I'm pretty sure you can get it on iTunes, Amazon, or any other place you are able to rent films. Now, here's the thing about Scoob, though. The fact that a lot of people are upset that they're not going to be able to see this movie on the big screen. Now, some people are just, I've noticed, are like, okay, so it's just like all the Scooby-Doo movies we've been getting in recent years. The only thing that changes is the fact that this did have a theatrical release planned. And it's really upsetting that we won't get to see our favorite dog on the big screen. Now, a lot of people did have skepticism with this movie before it even was released. And it still hasn't been released, but we have about, I think about, I want to say about 12 days before this movie comes out. So, you have plenty of time to decide if you're going to rent it or not, or wait for a theatrical release of this film. There is actually another news story that I need to cover on, related to movies and this pandemic, because it falls into some lines but it's not necessarily about the pandemic, but it's a result of it, I guess you could say. The thing is that the fact that this movie is still getting its initial theatrical release is fantastic. Now, we're going to leave this last little bit of the video to actually ask, is there any news stories you would like me to cover? I don't do these very often. Not very often at all. It's very rare for me to actually do these. My mind just blanked. I don't do these news videos very often, so if you have any news you want me to cover that is not serious news or anything along that line, stuff about video games or movies or things of that line, but you're probably wondering, VTR, you covered the GameStop's not closing because of coronavirus. Yes, I did cover that, but the only reason why I covered that was because it was related to GameStop, which brings it back into geek culture a little bit. So yes. And a question that someone actually asked me recently is like, why did I start making these videos? Because I just wanted to, I used to cover small little bits of news based on My Little Pony and movies every once in a while, so I wanted to do that here. And I really like making the thumbnails for these videos. But that's really mostly all I have to say for today's video. If you have any suggestions for news stories you would like me to cover, I do have a couple lined up already for when I get around to them. So I know I'm trying to sound very more sophisticated than I actually am, but I'm legit not trying to sound super sophisticated for this one. Now, you see I'm in my normal tone right now. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and this was VTR bringing you the news.